Hello, it's Janny from www.jannyfrank.com here, and I've come out into my garden this morning to do a little tutorial for you on how to be a multi-passionate multimedia artist. So the issue that I've identified is that very often in stories about artists, there's a real focus on the fact that an artist was always really obsessed with their instrument or their art form, that they started very early, and there's this impression that you get that successful artists, the good artists, really only do one thing and they do it really, really well. And this is very much, I think, the dominant kind of narrative around creativity in our culture, in films, in books, and in documentaries about artists. They will really kind of hone in on the fact that perhaps someone, was obsessed with the violin from when they were 3 years old, and now they're this virtuoso player. And they will maybe focus in a lot how somebody uses oil paints, and they use them in a specific way for kind of 50 years. And I really wanted to challenge that narrative because I think that it's a very disempowering story, to be honest, from my perspective as someone who is a multimedia artist. I'm a musician, I'm a writer, and I'm a visual artist. And for me, the idea of having to stick with one art form is just very unnatural. And I think a lot of you out there may be feeling exactly the same, that there are more than one obsessions in your life, and that your creativity expresses itself through more than one particular medium. So I really wanted to challenge that on two levels. First of all, I think there's two ways, more than one way, as many as there are artist ways of being an artist. But there are definitely two distinct camps that I've noticed in the professional artists that I work with. You get people who are indeed very, very fixated on and obsessed with their particular art form, and that is fantastic. And obviously, it's a road to excellence because you do the same thing over and over and over and over again. You get really good at it. And that is indeed one way of doing it. But another kind of artist that I have come across many times in my role as art house director and being an artist myself are multi-passionate artists, artists who are also writers, visual artists who are also musicians, musicians who are also poets. And this is also a way, a legitimate way to be an artist. So I think that's the first thing I want to say, is that there are different ways of being a creative, and really as an artist you get to decide what kind of artist you want to be and what medium you want to work in. The other thing I think is really worth mentioning is that it makes for good storytelling to focus in on one aspect of somebody's life. So if they're making a film of an artist's life, they very possibly will focus in on them practicing their violin and focus in on a specific kind of art form that they were doing, and perhaps, throw in details of their personal life in ways that kind of add a bit of human texture. But it isn't that great for storytelling to show an artist also doing all of the other things that inspire them and all of the other things that inform their work. So I think take it with a pinch of salt when you do see documentaries or films, dramatizations of artists' lives, or even when you read about artists. Again, an effective way to write an article is actually to zoom in on one aspect of somebody's life or personality or activities. So I just really wanted to put that out there, because if you've had a block monster around, I'm not just really obsessed with this one thing, I'm not like this artist that I'm watching on this film, on this documentary, this article I'm reading about this artist is portraying somebody who is just obsessively painting like all day, every day, and they never do anything else. I just really wanted to challenge that if it's a block monster for you. I know it's been a huge block monster for me. And last of all, I wanted to very much mention that, again, it makes for a good story to say that somebody started or obsessed with something since they were young. And if you think about it, you probably obsessed with a lot of different creative things and experimented with a lot of things when you were younger. So again, don't believe that you have to have started when you were 5, or you had to have started by the time you were 7, or you had to have been doing it by the time you were a teen, or, if you haven't mastered this by your 20s, or mistressed it by your 20s, then you aren't going to be any good. Again, that is a dominant narrative, and it is nonsense. A lot of artists, and you can go out and look them up, go and look up Barnett Newman for starters. A lot of artists didn't come to their art forms until later in life. So if you are later in your life and only just starting out, I really just want to offer you some encouragement that you can reach excellence at any point in your life. You can reach excellence whilst being interested in other things and doing other things, and you can reach excellence really in your own way. And the main thing is just to show up in front of your art form, in front of your creative work on a regular basis, and do it. Just do the work, and the rest will come. And don't let those block monsters of I'm not obsessive enough, I'm too old, don't let those block monsters stop you. So I hope this tutorial was hopeful. We had a little magpie come and say hi as well, chattering away up in the tree. And if you want to see more tutorials and creative life notes, they are over at my website, www.janifranck.com. Please do share this video if you think your friends might find it helpful as well. And thank you so much for watching. Mwah. Have a lovely day. Bye bye.